Welcome inside episode 575 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, and the Senators continued their unbelievable stretch on social media, putting out a 6-minute long video inside look of their scouting combine meetings with different prospects.
And while we can't confirm or deny if the Sens met with either of the two prospects we're looking at today, Ross, I think there's some good reasons they should be interested in talking to both of them.
Couple defensemen. We'll get into all that. Plus, the Boston Bruins have fired Bruce Cassidy. All that coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Tuesday, June 7th. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where the best way to help the show grow is to like the video by clicking the thumbs up, subscribe to Locked On Senators, the channel, and leave a comment below. Today's comment is a spicy one. Would you fire DJ Smith if you had the opportunity to hire Bruce Cassidy, the latest free agent head coach? Pilsy, I'm putting you on the spot.
And Ross, I feel like we kind of dabbled in this conversation when Barry Trotz was fired, and it was like, really great head coach, won a Stanley Cup recently, a lot of success. Is it time for a change? But I think this can be, the volume on that conversation can be turned up even more with Bruce Cassidy available. But like, I see the fit of Bruce Cassidy with the Sens as a better fit than Barry Trotz personally. And you mentioned it, hometown guy. He's from the Ottawa area. So there's another link there that would be good. But to get back to your question, is it the right time and the right move to let go of DJ Smith and bring in Bruce Cassidy? Personally, I don't think now is the right time, and it's unfortunate because if they're able to get a guy as good as Bruce Cassidy, that's an incredible addition, but I just don't think the Sens are quite there yet, and I think this version and where the Sens are right now, DJ Smith is the right coach as of right now, and I mean, he's already hired, he's already under contract, so that solves that issue.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to see the Senators right after firing Pierre Maguire with 2 years left on his contract. So they're already paying someone not to work for them.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, but I see it as a great fit. Man, Bruce Cassidy's a fantastic coach. Got within a goal of the second round this year against the division winners. I find it strange that the axe is coming down on him. Now, we don't know the inner workings. We may have heard from a source of a source of a source that the players were done with him, kind of tuning him out per se. And we talked about that the other day with Alfredson about would you rather be a coach or a president of hockey ops? Well, no matter how good of a head coach you are,
they have a shelf life.
Is a shelf life. You have an expiry date. You might have to look on the backside of his tie to see it. It might be in small print, but every single coach has an expiry date. And it's just shocking to me, especially when the management's been what it's been in Boston. I think a lot of Bruins fans are pointing to the Don Sweeneys, the Cam Neelys of the world as to why this ship has kind of gone off the rails. Like Torrey Krug leaving after they made it to the Stanley Cup final seemed like a slippery slope they started going down with Krejci just deciding that he'd rather play in the Czech Republic. So a little bit going on behind the scenes, but I just don't see it happening with Ottawa. You love the connections. Not only is he from here, he lit it up. Man, I went to his hockey elite prospects page. You know that as a defenseman, he had 111 points in 70 games with the 67s back in the day, Pilsy, at the Civic Center.
I had no clue. Wow.
Unreal. That was back when they were wearing the Cooperalls, you know, the full look. But as a coach, he has done everything right. This guy apparently grew up a Bruins fan, was in the organization for a decade and a half. He was their AHL coach forever. Now, just a quick anecdote. Emily Cave, the widow of Colby Cave, former NHLer, said that when he was initially in a coma, his wife, Emily, sent a note to the coaches, right? He had to let them know, like, oh my God, this is happening. And Bruce Cassidy sent back a voice message that he wanted played to Colby to, you know, maybe help him get out of the coma or whatever it was. And just the kind of guy he is. He's more than a head coach, and from all accounts, just an absolutely fantastic human being. And Have you ever seen a time where there's been this many quality coaches, quality people out of jobs between him and Barry Trotz and a list of others out there on the market?
Yeah, it's crazy. I would add Paul Maurice to that list as well, Ross. Like, there's so many good coaches available right now, and I think a lot of them are just waiting to see how the cards fall and what happens here. But I agree. I really think everything he did in Boston is worth applauding. He was a great coach, but the fact of the matter is, you only have so much time before a core group of guys is like, all right, we need something fresh here. And that's it. That's just it. Sometimes you need change just for the sake of making change. I don't think the onus should be on Cassidy that they didn't get past the first round. There's a lot of other things going on. This team is going through major changes. No Krejci, no Rask. Bergeron needing surgery, Marchand needing surgery, Pastrnak has 1 year left on his deal. They just brought in Hampus Lindholm on a massive deal. They re-upped Charlie McAvoy to one of the biggest, I think the biggest deal actually.
He's worth it though.
Oh, definitely in franchise history. So they're really trying to figure out their identity right now. And I think they needed a clean slate on the coaching side of it to make that transition happen.
Lots of open jobs right now in the National Hockey League. Now, the Senators aren't one of them. I know some people are sick and tired of DJ Smith. I'm sick of seeing Nikita Zaitsev out on the ice as well. Don't get me wrong. But I do know that the core players on this team love playing for DJ Smith. Just ask Brady Tkachuk, ask Drake Batherson, Josh Norris, what they think of playing for DJ Smith. So this is more of a conversation about getting potentially one of the top 10 coaches in the National Hockey League right now who seems to be let go in a weird situation all around. You'd have to at least see if he's interested in coming to Ottawa, no?
I think it would make sense to just kind of put the feeler out
tires.
There. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of a manager's job, is to do his due diligence and just see what's going on. But in no sense am I like leading the charge to say get rid of DJ to bring in anyone, even someone as good as Bruce Cassidy, because I think, like Ross, let's say in a magical dreamland, let's say the Senators did make it to the playoffs last season and it's a first round exit or something kind of disappointing. Then maybe you're saying, okay, DJ Smith is a guy that the boys love playing for. He's a great players coach. He was great for prospects and building guys up, getting them ready for the NHL and keeping things light when you're losing. But he wasn't able to get it done in the playoffs. We need a guy that can get it done in the playoffs. Then maybe I'm looking, okay, maybe it is time. But I really feel that DJ Smith has earned himself at least a chance to take this team to the playoffs, because he's been given arguably one of the hardest coaching tasks in the league. Like, add all the COVID stuff, add all the injuries, add the drama of Matt Murray, no consistent goaltending, have Brady Tkachuk contract up in the air. They're not sure if he's going to get signed. All these young players trying to figure out their roles in this franchise. He has to manage so many different personalities, so many different expectations. The front office staff being so thin, that probably puts a lot more strain on the head coach of the team. Like, I really think that he's put in a tough position and he's kept things light. He's done a good job with what he's been given roster-wise. And I think it wouldn't be fair to just axe him because a hot new commodity is available on the market. You know what I mean? So I think
verbal meme with the guy walking with his girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking back at Bruce Cassidy and his girlfriend holding his hand is DJ Smith.
Yeah, like
Pierre Dorion's the guy.
I went through your rebuild. I helped you pay for college when you were at med school, and now you're a doctor, and now you're just looking at this person. Like, yeah. So I feel like that's kind of the situation, and DJ has earned a chance here.
Yes, I agree with you there. And reminder, he's coached this team for 3 seasons. This past one, the only time he's made it through 82 games. Crazy. And with that came postponements, as you alluded to, with COVID affecting the entire National Hockey League. DJ Smith, we didn't see him at the scouting combine, but we know he'll be at the draft table on July 7th and 8th when the Ottawa Senators will have a numerous amount of picks. I forgot they had all those late round selections.
Yeah.
The Senators will draft 7th overall, allegedly. We'll see, of course, trades can still happen. Then they have their own 2nd round pick, which will be 39th overall. Still waiting to see where Tampa's pick ends up at the end of the 2nd round. They'll have 2/3, including Boston's. We'll have Boston's 5th round pick as well. And they also have Winnipeg's 5th round pick from the Zach Sanford trade. And then, oh, here's a big one, buddy. They don't have their own 7th, but they certainly have the Islanders. Do you remember how they got that one?
Was it part of the Pajot trade?
No, Braden Coburn for a 7th round pick.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Talk about recouping assets, but I wanted to ask your opinion. I know you watched it right before we recorded. Fantastic behind the scenes look of these interview processes. And what a classic Sens thing to start out with. A 6'8" player, Jack Sparks, walks in, and you can just see the exact thought process behind some other selections they've made, like Ben Roger last year. Like, oh, you're so tall. Like, haha, sit down. Like, they absolutely just drool over the fact this kid is so big.
Yeah, that was very obvious. But yeah, to echo your point, it's sweet that finally the Sens Social is putting out these videos. Like, man, when they started doing the helmet videos, fans were going crazy. It's something as simple as watching the players laugh together, give out a dumb award, and then celebrate. Like, we want to see that. Give me that content all day long. And it's so easy to do. And it's something that all these are being recorded anyways, right? Like, all these sessions are being filmed for them to look back on. So why not make a fun video? So I appreciate that they did that. And yeah, it was cool to look in the process, get to put a name to faces and get to understand who are the scouts doing these interviews. The one guy, Ross, I think his name's Don Boyd. Yep. I thought that was Brian Murray talking. I was like, are they using old Brian Murray quotes here? It was crazy to me, but clearly they all know what they're doing and they have a good unit in there. And Trent Mann, like, I really feel like he's a confident guy in those rooms, in those meetings, right? Like, everyone else is kind of like, they had their questions and they're asking them in like a reporter type way, whereas he was off the cuff and he was ready to go. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Sens manage this draft, because if there's one thing we know about Sens drafting is it's never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. They had Simon Nemec was there, who we'll get to later. I loved his answer. They said, so are you the best offensive defenseman or the best defensive defenseman? And he didn't say both. He repeated the answer. No, I am the best offensive defenseman and the best defensive defenseman.
Yeah, he's like, where's the question? You're telling me I am, and yes, I am.
Yeah, are you asking me or are you telling me? I absolutely love that from Nemec. And then how they look at Slavkovsky and they're like, so you're not going to be there at 7, are you? He would be the dream, though. Like, that's the type of player this team needs to step in.
That's who. Let's not joke about it. That's who we were talking about when we mentioned will the Sens trade up to number 2. It's Slavkovsky.
Oh, it wasn't obvious when he was in the photo.
yeah. I mean, we did make it very clear there, but yeah, I think that's the ultimate winger from this draft for sure. And it's kind of funny they ask guys where they think they'll rank. Like, that's
or like what certain skills they were. And they're all like 9s or 10s for all of them. Like, nobody's going to be like, yeah, I'm a 2 skating.
Character? Probably like a 1.
Yeah. You know what? Like, they offered me to be captain. I said, nah. Yeah. However, speaking of character, this Dylan James kid, he was on my radar just going to North Dakota. But like, now I'm hearing comparisons to Zach Hyman, just like a hardworking, gritty game. Like, we already profiled him. He was our 63rd ranked player. But if the Sens took him at 39, I will talk myself into that being a good pick. I love the way he plays.
And he won a championship, right?
He won not only the championship, but he also
AJHL.
won...
or USHL.
USHL, and he won Rookie of the Year in the USHL as well.
Dorian loves winners.
Dorian loves winners, buddy. So keep your eye out for Dylan James. He was in the video as well. We put up a photo. Actually, I want to pull this up. I think it was Jack Richardson, our boy, contributor with Future Sickos there. He replied to it, but did you see the tweet?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask.
He looks so much like Zaitsev. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you think so too?
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up, and then Pillsy, you get up our little ad here. We'll do that, and then we'll get into our draft ranks. We got 2 big defensemen today, and one's big in terms of pedigree, the first overall pick into the QMJHL draft a couple years ago, and the other one is big in stature. I'm getting some Tyler Clevin vibes from one of these picks, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, I need everyone who's watching on YouTube to be able to see Dylan James. Okay, so there you go. And I mean, we all know what Nikita Zaitsev looks like, but I'm gonna pull.
It's crazy if you put the proper hair on him for Zaitsev, it's Zaitsev.
Yeah.
I think his hockey DB one is very similar.
Okay, here we'll
That's what I
get
would look
this.
for.
We'll get this one up here in just a moment. What do we got? Well, you know what the thing is with hockey DB is you can actually click through
the photos. Yeah.
Maybe people don't know that, because when I found out, that was a very wild
Big day
moment.
for
So
you,
here,
yeah.
I'll show everyone here. Look at this. So you're on hockey DB. There you go, and that's the photo there. Like, they look
That's the one.
a lot alike. But look, click. I can't believe Lou Lamoriello gave him the contract he did. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Hopefully, one of the things Nikita Zaitsev or the Senators do this offseason is find a way to unload Nikita Zaitsev's final 2 years of his contract. Every day, Pillsy, we're a day closer to his $2 million signing bonus. All right, let's get into our draft rankings. Maybe a couple defensemen that could replace Zaitsev down the road. Maybe, but Pillsy got a word first from one of our favorite sponsors.
Yeah, Ross, we're hoping the Sens can unload Nikita Zaitsev contract, but also load up on protein. We want these boys bulking up in the offseason, don't we? And the best way they can do that is a delicious way with Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. And every once in a while, I go on to Built.com just to see what they're up to. And they always have cool new stuff. They're working on granola bars. And you might be thinking, oh, granola bars, like that's going to lose the chocolate that every Built Bar is covered in. Wrong. Even the granola bars are covered in 100% chocolate. So you chocolate lovers out there, don't you worry. The Built Bar granola bars are good for you as well. They've got chocolate, peanut butter, white chocolate, berry, and coconut. There's so many good flavors to choose from. And you can do that at Built.com. If you haven't tried any of their flavors, we recommend getting the mix box. And they also have Built Puffs, which are chocolate covered protein infused marshmallows. Yes, you heard that right. That's what I love about Built is they make their bars taste good and then find out how to make them healthy. So they're delicious. They got new flavors coming out all the time. Check it out at Built.com. And while you're there, use our promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
All right, Pillsy, breaking news before we get to our draft rankings. Fluto Shinzawa, a reporter for The Athletic with the Boston Bruins, one who we respect his opinion very much. Do you know why we respect it more than anybody else?
No.
In 2017,
no disrespect to Fluto.
In 2017, when the Bruins played the Senators, of course, you spend a few more days in the city than you would when you just fly in, fly out. He wrote an entire article about how Shawarma Palace is the best road meal on the NHL circuit.
Awesome.
So we respect that because it's absolutely true. Extra garlic sauce, please.
Yes. Yeah.
Double down on the pickled turnips as well. All right, that's not the breaking news. But what he did report is that the Boston Bruins, who we just discussed, are fired or have fired their coach, are now open to trading David Pastrnak. Pillsy, we've been talking about a top 6 forward all spring. This is not a top 6 forward. This is a top forward in the National Hockey League. Would you call, knowing he's a pending UFA?
Ross, I hate to damper things here. I know how excited you are about this, but I mean, you got to call. So to answer your question, yes, I would call. Would I get excited and be starting to line up assets to acquire him? Maybe not, just because he has 1 year left on his deal, and then he's going to hit the open market and he's going to make bank. Like, he took a team-friendly deal at 6.6. I forget how many years.
Because
6 years. That's the Boston way, right? Like, there's no way he was making more money than Bergeron, than Marchand, than Krejci. Like, he just wasn't. That's how it was, and he was an RFA at that time. He had no choice but to accept the terms, and he was put in a good situation too. And no one's crying about making $6.6 million. That's still pretty good. But at this point in his career, when he showed what he can do, I would be shocked if him and his agent don't have dreams of going to the open market. And I think that even if he got traded to a great team and they had playoff success, I think no matter what happens, he's going to test the open market, and it's not worth piling up all those assets to give to a division rival for one season of Pastrnak. So for me, I'm out on Pastrnak. We've highlighted a lot of guys I think would make a lot more sense. Not that obviously I would love Pastrnak on this team, but to bring him in and the contract and the fit, I don't know if it would work.
Yeah, we don't even have any Czech players that we can be like, hey, go sell them.
Let's draft some just to have them ready.
Radek Bonk still lives in Ottawa. Get
Sure.
him on the horn. Maybe he looked up to him when he was a kid. But in all seriousness, and good on David Pastrnak, get your money. Yeah. He's 25 years old. Pilsy, since he turned 20, so in his last 5 seasons in the National Hockey League, he has 451 points in 413 games, plus 71, averaging 18.5 minutes. He had a game-winning goal in overtime against the Sens this year. That's just what he does. He puts pucks in the back of the net. But I agree with you with the divisional rival aspect of it. But more so, this guy was so poor growing up. I don't know if you've seen it, but his tape job is one of the strangest in the league. And he just puts like one little loop on it. And he said that growing up, his family could barely afford tape. So he literally wanted to save it. So you know what? He's done so much. Just go get your paper. And again, if he would like to come to Ottawa, I'll go pick him up in Boston. Hell, I'll take a dinghy across the Atlantic Ocean. I'll go pick him up in the Czech Republic. But it's very unrealistic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think there's more realistic options, and I don't think the Sens are at the point where they can go all in for Pastrnak. So, sorry,
so we're
Ross.
Dreaming a little bit.
Yeah.
I like dreaming, though, about getting a top forward.
Like we talked about it.
If he had 5 or 6 years on his deal, I would give up like an ungodly amount.
That's a whole different story. Exactly. And I would be right on board with you there. I'd be, not only would I be picking him up, Ross, I'd be driving those players we're trading over to get him. Like, hey guys, we're going to Disneyland. Like, hop in the car. Actually, we're going to Boston real quick. Here's your new home.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, well, that was a lot of fun. But with that, we will snap out of our dream and discuss a couple prospects. One of them, I can tell you, the Senators will at least be doing their due diligence, if not salivating over what kind of player they could get in the NHL Draft. All right, Pilsy, back to the countdown we go. And coming in at 28th overall, we are going to Sweden with a Swiss defenseman, Lian Bichell, an enormous defenseman at that.
Ross, Lian Bichell, I think, would be another one of those guys that would walk into the Sens room and they'd be giggling and pointing and like doing like these and all those kinds of things, because he is an absolute unit. And unlike Maverick Lamoureux, Lamoureux, I think, is 6'7". Bichell is 6'5". But Bichel has 30 pounds on Lamoureux. And like, so a 6'7", 195-pound frame, that's what Maverick is. Compare that to a 6'5", 225. And you're like, that's like a teenager that hit a growth spurt versus a man. Like, Bichel is filled out. He has strength. He has size. This is your ultimate big, burly defenseman.
Well, and not only that, but he skates as though he's 6'2". So that, and weighing a bit less than 225. Like, yeah, he's able to control the pace of play at his size. And that, to me, is an incredible accomplishment at his age. And with that extra size, and he's been a guy, top-end Swiss player, and he had his season end a little bit early in March. He suffered a concussion on a hit from behind. Greasy hit. Go watch the clip of that. Greasy hit. He would have been the captain for Team Switzerland at the World Under-18s. Instead, he can't even play in the tournament. Now, because of his size and his maturity, he was able to play more at the SHL level than in the J20 league, which is the opposite of every other, well, all the others are Swedish defensemen, but players who are playing in Sweden during this draft process. We've been like, oh, they played 11 games in the SHL, had no points, but here they've got good numbers in the J20. That's why I put on the graphic that he had 7 points in 11 games playing in the J20 league. So offense is not an issue with, you see 6'5", you see 225, you're like, oh, he's just going to focus on the defense. He's not going to be a guy who jumps into the rush. And yeah, only 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points in 29 games. With Pilsy, a lot of forwards at the SHL level at 17 years old are putting up similar numbers to that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you really have to highlight what he was able to do at his age. Ross, according to Hockey Writers, only 12 players 18 or younger played 10 or more games in the SHL. He played 29. Like you said, if it wasn't for that concussion, he would have played even more. Like,
yes,
he was a 17-year-old in a pro league playing comfortably and playing big minutes. So for him to be able to do that really shows you how much he's trusted. And it only took him 11 games in the J20 league before they're like, yeah, you're probably better than this and we can bump you up to the top league here. So Bichell, he really has a lot going for him. And he uses his size to be hard to play against. That's why he was able to transition to the pros so easily. He uses that 6'5" reach to get his stick into lanes and break up plays. And he's just a pain to play against if you're other guys, because he's going to use that 225 pounds he has to just be a force in front of the net, in the corner, in the neutral zone. When players are trying to get around you or through you, it's not going to happen with Bichell.
Yeah, no doubt. And the rankings reflect that somewhat, but others aren't sold at all. And I love when the two athletic guys are completely on separate ends. Hell, you have to just reverse the numbers to get it here. Corey Pronman has him at 15th. Scott Wheeler has him at 51. And then everyone else is right in between. Elite Prospects having him at 26 tells you what you need to know about his skating not being an issue for his size. Tony Ferrari has him at 29. Bob McKenzie at 35. Craig Button, the lowest on him, down at 62. The average is 36.33. And you might be like, wait, that's lower than Jack Hughes, who we did yesterday. Well, we got an updated ranking. Scott Wheeler's final rankings came out. And as we've said, as we count down, once you're profiled, your number's locked in. And now we're updating as we get the rest. So Scott Wheeler down at 51 on him really kind of pushed him down a little bit. But Pillsy, this guy, he's got upside. And I'll tell you a quote here in a minute from Corey Pronman. But what do you like most? If you had to single out one part of his game, what's your favorite?
The fact that he's a good skater for his size. Like we mentioned, like a lot of the times, instantly, when you see the size, you're like, well, how much is skating going to be a problem? Like, how good is the size versus how much is the skating an issue? And that's what you have to weigh. But it seems like for Bichell, that's not the issue. And to kind of transition for you to go into your Pronman quote, Ross, he compared him to Keandre Miller, which
I know.
That's nice, Ross. You and I were banging on the table for the Sens to draft Miller in that draft, and look at him now. And not to be down on Lassie Thompson, we love Lassie.
No, that was JBD.
Oh, it was JBD? I thought that was
where they
Lassie
traded
Thompson.
back. They got JBD and Tyconic for Keandre Miller.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At the time, it looked good, though. You got a second-round pick to move down 3 spots, and now you're like, oh.
And to get the two defensemen paired together. But yeah, Keandre Miller.
The start of the friendship tour.
Yes. Yeah, that was the start of it all. Yeah, he's an absolute beast, and he's NHL ready. And I think if Miller played on a more rebuilding team as he was drafted, he would easily be a top 4 defenseman. I think he's kind of lower in the ranks in New York, but I mean, you got Trouba, Fox. They got so many good guys there, so it makes sense.
Lindgren.
Yeah.
Stud. Yesterday's defenseman was compared to Lindgren, Ryan Chesley.
Yes.
If you had to pick between Chesley or Bichell, who are you taking?
This is a great question. And great job, Ross. If the Senators are in a position where that's a problem they have, but deciding between these two, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with Chesley, though, just because just being that right-hand shot. And I found that he had so many other good abilities, and he was more of a two-way guy than Bichel is. But Bichel has so much more room to grow. Like he's got a longer road that he can take. Yeah. And he's already, I would say Bichel may be more pro-ready, but I think the upside for Chesley's higher, and the right shot really changes things for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Pronman spent a lot of time talking about the physical tools, of course, but he also says he's got offensive touch. He can create and carry through the neutral zone due to his feet and his skills, and he shows creativity in the offensive blue line. So that's kind of what you see with Keandre Miller, and that's why I like the comparison. They're both 6'5" and really have good puck control and strong feet. And sure, defensively, great reach, great gap. You can control the puck in the corner when you're that size. So I actually really like that player comparable, and I could see him being a top 4 defenseman in the National Hockey League. Now, on the other end of it, what Scott Wheeler was saying about it is that he defends the rush and the cycle well, and obviously in front of the net, and that'll be his calling card. But he said he saw a bunch of sloppiness develop when play caves in. When the other team starts really controlling the play, maybe his agility isn't as fast as he would like, and he kind of gets spun around a little bit. So he worries about that. He also says he's 225 now. Like, is he going to play in the NHL at 240? Like, how much is he going to have to watch out that he doesn't get on the wrong end of the tipping scale, where then his feet do start to become heavier and slow down? This guy is a I want to say he's May 18th, 2004 birthday. He's 18 years old. Yeah. Just turned 18. So, like, he's going to put on a bit of weight. You got to think he's not done growing. So what's he going to be, 6'6", 235?
But if he is, it's just about adjusting. Because, right, like, and I know the game's different now, but look at a guy like Dustin Byfuglien. Like, Byfuglien played at, like, 250 for stretches of time and dominated at that size. But he had to know, okay, I'm not going to beat anyone in skating races. My gap control has to be much better. I have to use my physical size as a force. I can't let speedy guys get around me. I got to check them right away, right when they're in my zone. And you just have to learn how to play like that. And I think Bichell is a guy that he's already this size, so he's going to have more time to learn that, rather than guys that are kind of 6'2", whatever, and then they hit a growth spurt, and then they need to learn that as they should be getting ready for a pro league in North America. So I think that's where Bichell has a bit of an advantage, is he's already figuring out how to do that.
And you can see a lot of defensively reliable numbers here, or defensive defenseman type numbers here. Not a whole lot on his elite prospect score sheet, except when he was back playing in Switzerland. But of course, now he spent the last year playing over in Sweden and making that transition pretty seamlessly. Like, he even got a few games at the top level in Switzerland as a 16-year-old, playing 4 games for Bichell on that squad. So, of course, lit it up in the junior ranks, and that's playing U20, Pilsy. So he's going up against 19-year-olds there as a 16-year-old, put up 28 points in 45 games. I love this player. How many stars do you have for him for the Senators potentially drafting him?
So I feel like he is a very safe pick. Like, it seems very likely that he's going to play in the NHL, Ross, and he's going to play in the NHL kind of soon, right? Like, I'm not thinking
3 years.
Yeah, I would say that's probably fair. Now, what's his ceiling though? I see him as a bottom 4 D-man, and kind of the top of his ceiling for me is being the defensive guy on a second pair. You know what I mean? Like the number 4 defenseman in that role. If the Sens didn't have Tyler Kleven, I'd be all over this guy. Like, I would really be going for him. But I feel like they have Kleven, and Kleven's going to be ready about the same time I think Bichell is. And I think Kleven has a bit more defined tools. Like, we're seeing, everybody says Kleven doesn't have offense. We saw him pick up the offense. And I think Kleven might be a little bit better offensively than Bichell is. And
Bichell kills guys too. Like, maybe not as often as Kleven, but like, he's mean and angry, and that's something that we didn't really highlight, but he's a good hitter too.
Definitely. And that's why I think they're both kind of in the same mold as a prospect. But since the Sens already have a guy like that, and I would take the upside on Kleven over Bichell personally. That's why I'm a little less down on Bichell, but I would also take Bichell over Lamoureux. Definitely. But I see the potential here, and I like the pick, and there's nothing wrong with getting a big defenseman that can play big pro minutes. I give him 4 stars for Bichell.
I got 4 stars as well for him as well. And it might be Bichsel. We're going to have to figure that one out along the way. People who are watching over in Lexan are probably just absolutely smashing the keyboard. They've turned us off by now. Yeah, but that to say Bichsel, that to say, we've got a couple things from elite prospects to finish off with, but I've got him at 4 stars. Moves the puck well, so raw. He's often playing on instincts out there, which is good. Just give him a good coach, and you can really take him that next level. So that, to me, answers the question, what's his upside? Well, let's see what kind of coach can mold him in. Got a bit of a Bambi skating stride to him at times, but a long stride as well. Sometimes you see these big guys trying to play catch up and try to get choppy, but he's big, mean, and has a good stick. And that's what Cam Robertson says. So I'm with you, Pilsy. I give him 4 stars. All right, Pilsy, we're coming back to North America for our next player on our profile, coming in at 27th on our Locked On Senators draft rankings from the QMJHL's Gatineau Olympique defenseman Tristan Luneau.
And this is another right shot defenseman, Ross. So you know I've already got my ears perked up. I'm already excited about this guy. The right shot defenseman guys have been my highest rated in our whole prospect countdown here. But he's got good size. He's not one of those, is he too small or are you worried about that? No, he's 6'2". I've got him at 175 pounds here.
Oh, he's gained up. We've got the draft combine is the updated weight, 189. So he's bulking.
So that's big. That's a big upside. So I think pretty much for 17, 18-year-old defensemen, this is the ideal size. Like, I don't think this is too big or too small. It's right where you want him. 6'2", 189. If you're watching on YouTube, Ross has a graphic up here. 63 games played, 12 goals, 31 assists, good for 43 points. And he's got some pedigree. He was the #1 overall pick in the 2020 QMJHL draft.
Yes, he was. And the Gatineau Olympique had a chance to really define what their process was going to be, because they drafted 1st, 2nd, and 4th.
That's crazy.
In that draft. They also drafted 8th, Pilsy. And with the 8th pick, they got Noah Warren, who's a big right shot defenseman as well, who was meeting with the Senators in one of the photos they posted. We aren't sure about Tristan Luneau, but what we are sure about is that the pedigree is there and the offensive capabilities are there as well. When he was even younger, like, he's always been a guy to put up points, but he's also cerebral as well. I like the way that he controls the pace coming out of his own zone. He doesn't seem like a guy who ever panics. And when we look at the rankings, there is a wide variety, but maybe not as much. Like, if we take out the Olympic style, right? Like, elite prospects, very low on him at 55. Bob McKenzie at 21. Well, besides that, we've got 24 for Craig Button, 31 for Scott Wheeler, 30 for Chris Peters, and 37 for Corey Pronman. Tony Ferrari does not have him in his top 32, but what we know is that his average comes out to be 33. So all that to say, when you're looking at Tristan Luneau, you're looking at a guy who's taken on a leadership role with Gatineau. He's wearing the A, as you can see in the photo there. I don't know about these jerseys, though, for the Gatineau Olympique.
Yeah, I don't love him either. Yeah.
Anyways, that's not going to affect his draft stock. But what will is what his upside could potentially be. Is he one of those players who, we've seen it before, they're a top pick in the juniors, but then they don't continue their upward trajectory at that same token. And I think Luneau is a guy who a year ago, let's say right before COVID, so he had just come in to being that #1 pick. You probably saw him as a bit higher than the 27th best prospect for the NHL.
Yeah, and I feel like that's fair. And I really think he's going to be a first-round guy. I think he has a lot of tools here. I kind of gave him the label jack of all trades, but master of none. You know what I mean? Like, It just seemed his skating's good. His passing's good. His hockey IQ is good. He's good defensively. Like, everything... I would say everything is a little bit above average. Like, I'll say better than good. And that's where a first overall pick should be. Nothing should be like a red flag. And
right.
I really see him as a two-way defenseman. He's very defensively aware, has good gap control and active stick, but he can also be a quarterback on a top power play unit. And he's a great setup man. Like, he's so patient with the puck on the power play. Like, he's not a guy where it's like, holy crap, I have the puck. We're on the man advantage. We're stuck in the small zone. I got to be snapping it around. He really takes that moment to soak it all in, let guys move around, let guys cycle, and then try to set them up. But it's not necessarily a bad thing because he's so patient. He doesn't take low percentage shots or passes. He doesn't take too many risks. But he also becomes very predictable because he doesn't have a great shot, I find. And then it makes it easy for teams to just be like, okay, if he wants to hang out with the puck on his stick for 35 seconds during a power play and doesn't get anything towards net or create any chaos, let him. Let him hold on to it. And then when he does move it, we've got all the other guys. We've got 4 guys on the other 4 guys, and he's not going to shoot it because he's not confident in his shot enough. So I think that's one downside to him is he doesn't have that shot to create space by having opponents wonder, is he going to pass? Is he going to shoot? They always know he's going to try to pass it.
100%. Now, Scott Wheeler has a very good last line on him. And Wheeler covered the Gatineau Olympique for a while. So that's probably where his love from Abramov comes.
It is,
that's neither here nor there. This is what Wheeler had to say about Tristan Luneau. He plays a cerebral two-way game that lends itself to driving play. And while he's a high floor, low ceiling type, his size, maturity, roundedness, and discreet offensive game and skating, both of which I will expect to show themselves more next season with full health and a summer of steady training, should make him an efficient, all-purpose guy. And that gets me into his struggle, which was a knee surgery over the summer. So not only did he only get to play 20-odd games last year, as the Q was the last to start with COVID, it was a bit of a gong show for his rookie season. He still won Defensive Rookie of the Year in the Q. He goes in, misses his entire summer of training with a knee procedure, misses training camp, misses the first 3 games of the season. So, of course, it's going to take him a while to get up to speed. Well, in the second half, he went off and really kind of established himself as a first-round talent, helped the Gatineau Olympique make it to the second round of the playoffs, played all situations there. And I agree with Scott that this is a high-floor player that will be an NHLer one day. Pillsy, you're not going to like to see with this, though. Scott has Luneau 1 pick, 1 ranking ahead of Ty Nelson.
Yeah, and I mean, that's fair. Like, they're very similar players. I would say Luneau is a little bit more well-rounded, whereas Nelson is a little more offensively focused, and that's why I lean towards Nelson, because I could see where he fits in. Whereas Luneau, I feel like it's tough to really pinpoint where he's going to fit in on a team.
Pillsy, we've got a run of 3 right-hand defensemen for Wheeler, because he's got Ryan Chesley 1 spot ahead of Luneau at 30th. So, again, it's kind of a pick your favorite of 3 pretty similar players.
Yeah, definitely.
Although Chesley, you're going to get a bit more of the defensive acumen versus offensive for now.
It's kind of funny, Ross. It's almost like the Goldilocks and 3 Bears situation here. Like one is too hot. That's Ty Nelson. He's too offensive. One is just right. Luneau, he does both really well. He's a two-way guy. And then Chesley is a little more defensive, maybe a little too cold with the puck. So it's kind of funny how you get that mix there all together. But sticking with Luneau here, I agree with Scott. A definitely high floor, low ceiling type of guy. I don't think he's going to be available for the Sens, Ross. Like we talked about, take out the outliers of the rankings we have, and it really seems like he's going to go anywhere between 20th and 37th. So that's why I'm a little down on Luneau. I think someone's going to snatch him. So I've got him at 3.5 stars, just because I would prefer either go harder defensive mode with Chesley or go harder offensive mode with Nelson. That's where I would go with those options. So I feel like Luneau, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Sens to draft him. But I think he's going to be a great player.
Yeah, I think he'll be a good player too. January 12th birthday, 2004. So he's already been 18 for a little while. He's from Trois-Rivières as well. And again, we mentioned first overall pick to the Gatineau Olympique. You can see the consolidated rankings a bit all over the place as well. We don't typically use McKeen's, but we do respect their work a lot. I know we watched the scouting videos going into these. They have him at 22nd. And then you look, he's got the pedigree. We said he wore an A for times this year, and then he had the C in his last year of playing. And it was 31 games that he got to play in that first COVID shortened season. And then he was able to up his production, get lots of goals, 12 in 63 games here with the Gatineau Olympique. He also played in the Youth Olympic Games for Canada, the under 16s, and wore a letter there. So he's a guy whose pedigree has followed him or started him up to get to where he is. And I'll go. What did you say for stars?
I think he's a 4-star player, but I just don't think he's going to be available in the Sens range. So I did 3.5.
Okay. We can't have the exact same. So I'll say.
Yeah, we can.
I'll say 3. All right. Okay. I'll do 3.5 then, because I think
don't downside him just because we don't have the same stars here.
Yeah, it's not nice. Not nice. Now, Elite Prospects did say that skating is a real problem in straight lines, but he does have good 4-way mobility. Okay. So that's something that if he needs to work on something, that quick acceleration, like example, puck gets turned over in the offensive zone and he's the help side. He's like the far end. Puck gets turned over left, he's right. He's not often going to catch the guy on the back check. So he needs to, do a couple suicides and you'll be ready to go in practice, couple back and end and forth. And I think he'll be a solid defenseman, a guy who can be a second power play quarterback in a pinch and be a solid player. So I got 3.5 stars for Tristan Luneau. All right, Pillsy, wrapping up with a little bit of playoff talk. We mentioned the Edmonton Oilers are eliminated, so no Cody Ceci in the Stanley Cup Finals. Robbed again of a spot in the Stanley Cup Finals, but this Avalanche team was just a complete wagon. A sweep in the conference finals. They've now swept 2 of their 3 series en route to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, and I don't think St. Louis was ever really close either. Like, this is a team that just will not be denied, right? Like, even without Kadri, one of their top players in this this entire playoffs, they will not be denied. Even with what's burned the Avalanche every single year, their top goalie and even beyond getting hurt, they don't have Kemper. Doesn't matter. Francouz steps in and he does a great job. Even gets a shutout in one of the games. Like, for them to be able to do this up against the Edmonton Oilers, who have the 2 top scorers in the playoffs by a mile, is insane that they were able to stifle them like this. And yes, Edmonton, they have their problems as well. No Kane, Draisaitl basically playing on one leg, no Yamamoto. Like, they definitely had some issues, but it's going to be a very, very tough battle for whoever wins out of the East, Tampa or New York, because Colorado this is their year and they know it.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to find out right now. The New York Rangers are leading 2-1, but it's a little bit of a later recording. We're recording it right now 3 p.m. on Tuesday, June 7th. So we're coming up right to puck drop between the Rangers and Lightning Game 4 after the Lightning got a Game 3 victory. So they trail that series 2-1. We'll end off with a couple birthday shout-outs. Igor Sokolov turns 22 today. So some stick taps to our boy Igor, friend of the show. Philip Gustafson turns 24. We talked about yesterday, the 3-headed monster. Could it work? What's going to happen there? And also a great listener of the show who shares her birthday with those two, Adriana. We'd like to give a shout out to as well. We appreciate you following along with Locked On Senators, and we wish you the best of days. But that's about all we got for today, Pilsy. You got anything else, or are we good to go?
Finally, I am out of money on my BetOnline.ag. I was 2 for 2 when I went all in survival mode, and they took it to overtime. I felt felt kind of good about it. The over hit just like I thought, but that's it. I'm just gonna take my stand here. This is as far as I made it. I made it to one team advancing to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's pretty damn close. So it's been a good run, but this stretch of losing consistently, it's not going to cut it, and I need to be better. I'm going to take time in the off season to reflect on what I need to do to change to make Pilsy's parlay of the day last a little longer next time.
Bingo, bango, bongo. He cashes out with 0 chips. But what I will say, dude, is that was a really impressive run in the first round. You were 5-5.
Yeah, it was fun while it lasted. Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow with lots more, including, let me take a little sneak peek at our draft rankings. We've got a player who's ranked as high as the teens tomorrow, coming in at 25, and another guy who Elite Prospect says is a guaranteed NHLer. But what's the upside? We'll get into all that tomorrow. Thank you for listening today. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.